Hi, Mr. Hammer here again. We're going to be talking about the mean, the median, and the mode. And why do we use those? We use those, they are called measures of central tendency. The reason we use those is the same reason you have an average. So let's say in mathematics, you have a bunch of observations, you have a bunch of test marks, you have a bunch of information, and if you want to tell your parents how you did in math, you don't just go and rattle off all your test scores and all your observations and every single thing you did. You give them one number. You say, you know what, I got an A in math, or I got a B. An A and a B and a C, all those are averages. We take all the information, all those test scores, all the observations, all the little assignments, and we roll those all into one. And we say that that letter that we give you is kind of like, gives you a middle, based upon how you're doing. Maybe sometimes so let's say you got a B+, maybe sometimes you got an A and sometimes you got a B. So on average you would be a B+. It's the center, what comes in the middle. So we call them measures of central tendency. So there are three main measures of central tendency. Now the mean, otherwise known as the average, is the one that we hear about most often. It's the one we use to usually calculate your marks in school. Very easy. You add up all the numbers, and then you divide by the number of numbers. So if these are my numbers up here. To calculate my mean, I'm going to add all those numbers up. So 16 plus 5 plus 13 plus 14 plus 15 plus 17 plus 15 plus 2. And then I'm going to divide by the total number of numbers I have here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to divide that by 8. Get out my trusty old calculator. 16 plus 5 plus 13 plus 14 plus 15 plus 17 plus 15 plus 2 gives me 97. 97 divided by 8 will give me a mean of 12.125. So this is the mean in this case, 12.125. I'm going to move that over here and erase it over there. So the mean is 12.125 of these numbers. The median is used sometime in different circumstances, not usually for your marks, but the median basically means it's the number in the middle and there are the same amount of numbers to the left, smaller, and the same number of numbers to the right of the median. So how do we do that? First we have to arrange those numbers in order from smallest to largest. This is where people are laziest and they don't rewrite the numbers. You need to carefully rewrite them. So 2, and here's a way to do it easily, is just to cross the numbers out as you write them down. So 2, 5, then the next largest number is 13, then 14, then 15. You must write, we have two 15s, you must write them down as you see them, both of them, even if they repeat, 16 and 17. Because I've crossed them out, I know I've reached all the numbers. I've got them in order from smallest to largest. Now we count the number of numbers and we know that there are 8 numbers here. If we happen to have an odd number of numbers, let's say we didn't have the 17 there, and we only had 7 numbers, well, the median would be the middle number. Okay, so the median would be 14. There are 3 numbers to the left of 14, and there are 3 numbers to the right of 14, so 14 would be the median. However, in this case we had another number. We had 17, so 14 is not our median, and our median has to be involving these 2 numbers here, because these 2 numbers, there are 3 to the left and 3 to the right. So what we do is we isolate or put aside those 2 middle numbers and we take their average, the mean of these 2 middle numbers. So we take 14 plus 15, the mean of 14 and 15 is adding them together and dividing by the number of numbers, which is 2. And that's going to be 29 divided by 2, which is going to be 14.5. So our median in this case is 14.5. Notice it's larger than our mean. And the mode. The mode is the easiest one. The mode is simply which number shows up the most. The mode is often used in the fashion or store industry where you would want to know how many of a certain type of clothing is sold the most so you know what to reorder. They don't really necessarily care about the mean and the median, but just simply what is selling the most. In this case, what number turns out the most? In this case, 15. So the mode is going to be 15. Can you have 2 modes? Absolutely. If you have a set of numbers with, let's say we had 2 15s and we had 2 17s as well, well, the mode would be 15 and 17. Finally, can you have no mode? Absolutely. If every single number shows up only one time, there's no mode. So to recap, these are measures of central tendency. These are ways to find kind of the middle of a bunch of numbers. There are three different ways. One is the mean, where you simply add up all the numbers and then you divide by the total number of numbers. In this case, we had 8 numbers. We added them up and divided by 8. If we had 100 numbers, we would add 100 numbers, then divide by 100, and that becomes our mean. Our median, a little trickier. It's the middle number. You must align your numbers, or line them up from smallest to largest. My tip was to cross out the numbers as you write them out, and then find the middle number. If you have an odd number of numbers, there is a single middle number, and that is your median. If you have an even number of numbers like this, 8, then the two middle numbers would become your median, and you simply take their average, add them up, and divide by 2, and then that becomes the median. And finally, the mode is just the number that occurs the most. In this case, it was 15. If you have two numbers that occur the same amount of times as the most, those numbers are the mode. And if you have no numbers that are repeated, there is no mode. And those are your measures of central tendency. Hammer out.